You've been there, standing in the supermarket aisle, staring at a wall of plastic and steel. In one hand, you could grab a sleek new razor handle. It feels solid, engineered. Maybe it even has a fancy name like the Hydroglider Pro. It costs less than a fancy coffee. But right next to it is the thing it needs, a tiny pack of 4 replacement cartridges. And that little box costs more than lunch for two. Your brain stalls for a second. The complex tool is cheap, but the simple disposable part is shockingly expensive. This isn't a mistake. It's not about the cost of steel. It's a carefully designed economic trap, and once you see how it works, you'll start seeing it everywhere. To understand the trap, we have to go back to a time when shaving was terrifying. Before the 20th century, the main option for a clean shave was the straight razor, a piece of sharpened steel that looked like a pocket knife. It required a steady hand, a leather strop to keep it sharp, and a lot of practice to not slice your own throat. You could go to a barber, but that cost time and money. Shaving at home was a genuine, risky skill. The world was practically begging for a better, safer way to do it. Enter King Camp Gillette. And yes, that was his real name. He was a traveling salesman, a tinkerer, and inventor with dozens of ideas that went nowhere. His real talent, it turned out, wasn't inventing things, but seeing a business model. While working for a company that made bottle caps, the kind you use once and throw away, his boss told him, "King, invent something that people use and throw away. They'll have to come back for more." That idea lodged in his brain. He looked at the dangerous, permanent straight razor and had his epiphany. What if the sharp part was the cheap, disposable piece, and the handle was the permanent tool you bought just once? Now, the popular story is that Gillette just gave the razors away for free to hook people on the blades. But that's not true. In fact, it's the opposite of what happened. The first Gillette safety razor sets, launched around 1904, were a luxury item. A standard set cost $5. That doesn't sound like much, but in today's money, that's over $150. You were buying a premium, durable piece of equipment that solved a real problem: dangerous shaving. It was a technology investment. The real business, the part inspired by the bottle cap, was the blades. Working with an engineer named William Nickerson, Gillette patented a thin, cheap, double-edged steel blade that could be stamped out by the millions. A pack of 20 blades cost about $1. This was the magic formula. You pay a high price once for the hardware, the platform. Then you make small, repeated purchases for the software, the consumable blades. This is what economists call a two-part tariff. It's the cover charge to get into the club, and then the price of the drinks all night. Gillette wasn't selling razors. He was selling entry into the Gillette blade ecosystem. For years, the Gillette safety razor was a solid business. But what happened next turned it into a global empire, and it had nothing to do with advertising. It was World War I. The U.S. military needed its soldiers to be clean-shaven, and not just for discipline. A smooth face was essential for getting a tight seal on a gas mask, a critical piece of survival gear in the trenches. So, in 1917, the U.S. government signed a contract with Gillette and issued a shaving kit to nearly every single American serviceman. We're talking millions of kits. Think about this from a business perspective. The government paid to put your product into the hands of millions of young men. It paid to make using your product a mandatory daily habit. Then, after the war, those millions of men came home, each with a Gillette handle in their bag. They were now a perfectly installed base of customers. When their army-issue blades ran out, what were they going to buy? They already owned the hardware. Gillette just had to sit back and sell them the refills for years and years to come. It was the single greatest customer acquisition campaign in history, and it was funded by the taxpayer. With this massive customer base, Gillette's next move was to make sure they could never leave. They did it by creating a patent treadmill. Every decade or so, they would launch a revolutionary new shaving system. In 1971, it was the Trac II, the first two-blade razor. In 1977, the Atra with a pivoting head. In 1990, the Sensor with spring-mounted blades. Then the Mach 3 in 1998, and the five-bladed Fusion in 2000s. Each new system was protected by a fresh set of patents. And crucially, each one was deliberately incompatible with the last. This incompatibility is the key. The little plastic clip that connects the cartridge to the handle is one of the most profitable pieces of design in history. A Mac 3 cartridge will not click into a fusion handle. It's not an accident, it's a fortress wall. It means that to get the latest and greatest shave, you have to buy the new handle. And once you have that new handle, you are locked into buying only their new, more expensive, patent-protected blades. The cheap handle isn't a product. It's a ticket to a walled garden where Gillette sets the price. Once you see this razor and blades model, you can't unsee it. It's the reason your printer is so cheap and the ink cartridges cost a fortune. It's why coffee pod machines are often on sale, because the real money is in the pods. Video game consoles are frequently sold at a loss because the company makes its profit on the games. Electric toothbrushes and their replacement heads, water filters, even some smart home devices. All of them use the same logic. Sell the durable part cheap to lock the customer into buying the profitable, consumable part forever. For decades, this model was unbeatable. But then, the internet happened. In 2011, a video appeared online featuring a guy named Mike. Sitting in a warehouse, he deadpanned, "Are our blades good? No. Our blades are effing great." This was the launch of Dollar Shave Club. Their pitch wasn't just about cheaper blades delivered to your door. It was a direct, hilarious assault on the whole razor and blade system, calling out the vibrating handles and lubricating strips as pointless tech. The video went viral. People weren't just buying cheaper razors. They were joining a rebellion against a model they always knew felt like a ripoff. The rebellion worked. Competitors like Harry's joined the fight. Gillette's market share, once over 70% in the US, started to fall. In 2016, Unilever bought Dollar Shave Club for $1 billion, proving the threat was real. So, in 2017, the empire struck back? Sort of. Gillette's owner, Procter & Gamble, announced they were cutting cartridge prices by up to 20%. They even launched their own subscription service. They didn't abandon the model. They just lowered the price of the drinks inside the club because a new bar opened up down the street. The core logic, the proprietary handle locking you into their blades, remained exactly the same. And this reveals the final hidden truth of the razor and blades model. When you're standing in that aisle, the most important financial decision isn't whether to pay $30 for blades. It's whether to pay $8 for the handle. That cheap handle is a contract. It's an agreement to participate in a specific economic system. By buying it, you are committing your future self to a narrow set of expensive choices. The real cost of the handle isn't the price on the tag. It's what economists call switching costs. The hassle, the uncertainty, and the cost of buying a whole new system if you ever want to leave. That friction is the glue that holds the entire model together. It's why you keep buying the same blades, even when you suspect you're overpaying. Because starting over feels like a chore. That's why the handle is so cheap. It's designed to make your first decision as easy and thoughtless as possible. Because the company knows that once you're in, you're probably in for good. That tiny blade doesn't cost so much because it's hard to make. It costs so much because once you've bought the handle, you've limited your own choices. You're not paying for the metal, you're paying for the model.